Three employees working for a company that greets passengers at the cruise port in Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades, have tested positive for COVID-19, the coronavirus. In today's episode of the Lido Loca cruise show, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what health officials in Broward County are recommending for any passengers who have recently cruised out of Port Everglades. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tony with the Lido Loca cruise show. Welcome back. Thank you for taking the time to watch the show. If you enjoy that cruising content, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the episodes. Well, this is a big deal in Broward County, Florida. That is the home of Fort Lauderdale. That is the home of Port Everglades. Yesterday, health officials there issued a health emergency as the number of coronavirus cases went from 0 to 4, with 3 of the coronavirus cases being employees of a company called Metro Cruise Services. Metro Cruise Services, a company based out of Long Beach, California, provides services at the cruise terminal in Port Everglades. These are customer-facing services, greeting, directing people where to go, checking paperwork, and 3 of the employees there, 3 gentlemen aged 65, 67, and 75, all testing positive for the coronavirus. Metro Cruise Service is currently working with health officials in Broward County to interview and to determine whether other employees had interaction with these gentlemen and to what extent there could be possibly more infections. Broward County health officials did release an advisory asking anyone who passed through the port of Fort Lauderdale to isolate themselves and contact their county health department or healthcare provider if they started to experience symptoms of the virus, which could include cough, fever, and shortness of breath. This advisement runs hand in hand with a CDC advisement that says anyone returning from a cruise ship should closely monitor themselves for 14 days, immediately isolate themselves if they start showing symptoms, and reach out to healthcare providers for further treatment. This is a rapidly changing situation. It was just a couple days ago that the CDC issued their advisement that U.S. citizens, particularly U.S. citizens that were vulnerable to the virus, should not go on a cruise ship. It is yet to be determined how many passengers actually came into contact with the gentleman there at Port Everglades, but it's potentially in the thousands. Another significant coronavirus story today is that the U.S. Congress is holding hearings on Capitol Hill with the head of the NIAID and the CDC and a panel of experts to talk about coronavirus. I watched the hearings for about an hour and a half, and there are some nuggets, some information I would like to share with you. But before I get too deep in that, I get asked the question a lot, how come when you do these stories about coronavirus, you don't often say coronavirus? Well, it's an interesting thing for us here. There's a couple aspects. First of all, we want to make sure that the videos that we put out are shown to as wide an audience as possible. And secondly, our business runs off the revenue of these videos. And when it comes to talking about coronavirus, when it comes to talking about certain things in the news, we find that those videos are treated differently than our other cruise videos. Primarily, they're possibly shown to less people, so getting the word out does not work as well. And then they are also put under a limited advertisement restriction. So we don't make the same amount of money on a coronavirus video as we would just a regular cruise video. And since that's part of the way we sustain our business, it's a challenge. And so we do try to say things so that those videos do not get limited ads on them. But every once in a while, you got to talk about it. And one thing I don't talk about a whole lot is there are other ways to support the YouTube channel. There are other ways to support what we're doing at Lido Loca. And I just want to throw out there, we do have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/Lido Loca. It's a place where you can get some extra content. We do a monthly live stream just for patrons, and we are putting more and more exclusive videos there that you can't see anywhere else, in addition to the daily show that you see here on the YouTube. So back to the congressional hearings. Before I get too deep in the actual information, I just want to express a frustration. This is my personal frustration. I watched those hearings and I expected there to be a lot of dialogue with the experts about what we can do about coronavirus going forward. And much of what I saw was a lot of politicizing of coronavirus. I saw people from both parties here in the United States arguing with each other over who was right, who was wrong. And there was a period of time where it didn't even seem like they were asking the experts, the health experts, anything of substance other than, can you help me verify that my side's right? And I think that's a huge waste of time. And I was a little frustrated and disappointed watching that. But there were some significant facts that came out of what I saw on the hearings that I just wanted to share with you. The first expert to speak was Dr. Fauci. He is the head of the NIAID. He is the leading edge when it comes to epidemic, when it comes to viruses. He served 6 presidents. He has a reputation that is stellar, and he is the person that is looked to often for the straight talk on these things. He is, in the last few days, he's called right, and wrong when it comes to information that's out there. And so he talked first about vaccination and therapy. Vaccination, the idea that a vaccine could be developed to fight the coronavirus. He talked about that process. He said they already have the virus mapped, and after they have the virus mapped, they make a vaccine. Currently, they have over 10 candidates of what could be a vaccine, and those 10 candidates have to enter in what is called phase 1. Phase 1 is where they determine which of those 10 candidates are going to be the right candidate for the vaccine. He said that process takes around 3 months. And then once a candidate is determined, it goes into the testing phase, the will it work phase, and that takes around 8 months. So a conservative estimate, he said, is that we would not see a vaccine for at least a year or a year and a half. There's a lot of talk out there that there's going to be a vaccine rapidly. He very specifically said that that is not true. But he did also mention that in addition to vaccines, there are also developments in therapies, and therapies are designed to make the virus more tolerable, to lessen the mortality rate. And he said that those are developed a lot quicker. The way it works, vaccines have to be tested on people who aren't sick, and to determine whether or not the vaccine will prevent them from being infected with the virus. Therapies, on the other hand, can be applied to people that already have the virus. I did a story a couple weeks ago about passengers being moved to a facility in Nebraska. That facility, one of their main functions is to test out therapies on people that are sick. And he said that normally therapies are found to be viable anywhere between 3 and 5 months. And so much quicker than a year, there could be therapies that actually lessen the challenge of the coronavirus. Dr. Fauci was asked very directly, is this getting better or worse? And he said the worst is yet to come. Again, this guy has a good reputation, not really one for fear-mongering from what I can tell with his career. And so that was the word from the expert's mouth. Also, there was the head of the CDC. He pointed out that February 25th was a significant day when it comes to the spread of this virus, where more cases were increasing outside of China than inside of China. February the 25th, if you think about it, that is only 15 days ago. That really gives you some perspective on how fluid and rapidly changing the situation is. 15 days ago, you did not have the whole country of Italy locked down. You did not have public events now being canceled. You might not even have known the term social distancing. A lot has changed in 15 days. He also gave some updated statistics. Currently, 990 people with the coronavirus in the United States, and sadly, 31 deaths. What he got asked about a lot was test kits. How is testing going to work in the United States? Test makers like LabCorp, they were brought to the White House a few days ago, and now they're in the process of sending test kits out to healthcare facilities. These will be test kits that will be able to be sent to doctors' offices, but all of that is ramping up. A lot of the questioning around how easy is it going to be for people to be tested, and whether or not there's going to be enough testing. It seemed from the questioning that was still an up in the air kind of question, but test kits are on the rise and getting out to health officials, getting out to doctors. Look, my goal is just to give you the information as I see it come across. I mentioned it a couple days ago, and I believe it, that through education, through wading through some of the hype, that is really the thing that we can do to get ourselves best prepared. Social distancing is a thing that's happening. The CDC recommends staying away from people. If you don't have to be in large crowds, don't be in large crowds. They even said for people that were 60 years or older, avoid mass transit, avoid crowds, stay at home if you can. A lot of advice coming out. Don't shake hands. Stay within 6 feet of another person. Definitely stay away from people that are showing symptoms. It's one of those things. The coronavirus is spread through respiratory droplets. These are droplets that come from coughing and sneezing. They do have a life that happens when they land on hard surfaces. The key thing is to make sure that you're using good hygiene, that you're washing your hands with hot, soapy water, that you're avoiding touching your face, that you're wiping down the hard surfaces that you come in contact with, and as best as you can, limit interaction in the public. I'm sure this story will continue to go on. It's not as fun as regular cruising for sure, but I want to do my best to share what I'm learning with you guys. I hope you find the information helpful. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is Tony with the Lido Loca Cruise Show, and until the next episode, we'll see you on the Lido.